Hey folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And today again we will continue with the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act 1992, which is the SEBI Act 1992, right? So in the previous lecture we dealt with section 11A, so for today let us cover section 11AA. We have the next collective investment scheme, section 11AA. Now, what do you understand by collective investment scheme? If we go by the name of the topic, collective investment scheme, that means it's a scheme. According to that scheme, you have to make some investment, and that will not be an individual, it will be a collective investment of a lot of people. So, as a layman, when I look at this is what I understand, and I'm correct as per my understanding as well. So, if I look at the meaning, just read it out. It is any pooling of fund under any scheme or arrangement which is not registered with the board or is not covered under subsection 3, involving a corpus amount of 100 crore rupees or more shall be deemed to be a collective investment scheme. Right? So 10 of us, we pull in 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh rupee, and we say we have an investment scheme which is a collective investment scheme. Why? Because first we have a scheme, second we are making investment, and third we are making it collectively. So you would not qualify. Right? So collective investment schemes may also be certain schemes that are already registered with SEBI, registered with the board. Right? Like if you have any scheme for mutual fund or nidhi or chit fund, all those things, a lot of things which may not be considered to be a collective investment scheme, right? Either because they are below 100 crores or they are registered with SEBI or they do not fall under the definition of the same, right? There may be many reasons why we do not consider a scheme where the investments have been collected to be collective investment scheme. So as a layman, what I understand out of it is absolutely correct, but SEBI says that there are certain conditions, certain small things that we need to check. Now, what are the conditions? Now, if you want to come up with a collective investment scheme, right, that is 11AA clause 2, what are the conditions? So this is basically a definition also, I would say, right? So any collective investment scheme or arrangement, whatever name we call them, right, that may be which is made or which is offered by a person under which a contribution or payment is made by the investors. So if I look at any collective investment scheme, so who is making the investment is the investor. So it's a scheme or arrangement where the investors, they contribute, they make certain payments, right? And by whatever name it is called, we don't care. It is about some money coming in. And those money, they are pooled together and utilized for a purpose. And that purpose is actually the scheme or the arrangement. This is the layman meaning that we have already understood, and this is what the law has already said again. Now, if we move a step ahead to understand more about it, then why do they pool money? Yes, people come together, pool money, 100 crores plus, it is collective investment scheme if it is not in the negative list. But why would somebody come and pool in their money in the collective investment scheme? It is because they want the money to be flowing in huge quantity so that they have a better access in the market. They have better opportunities. Like if I give you a layman example, what happens is if I stay alone in a city, right, and I rent a flat, I rent a 1 BHK or 2 BHK flat and I pay the rent for the entire flat. Instead, I can take a 4 BHK flat and we four can share it, one room each. That is beneficial for us, right? So we share the common rent of the kitchen, we share the common rent of the drawing room, we share the common rent of the servant room, we share the common rent of the, you could say, the parking, the lawn, the maintenance. So that is a collective investment scheme. Like if you compare that. So why do somebody make a collective investment scheme is with a motive to earn profit, right? So whatever contribution, whatever payment is coming, it is to with a view to receive profit or whichever income from the produce or property. So the income does not mean the income comes only in form of money. Now if I give you an example, anybody who knows what constructors, the builders, they do, there are a lot of builders or a lot of small parties who come together, they arrange a corpus of fund, buy a land and prepare a building on it. Since they have all done it together, they prepare a building and then they take a flat each. Now, do you think single-handedly any one of them could have bought the flat, bought the land and built just a single floor? Not possible, right? So when they're building the floors, everybody is paying for their flat. So all the investments are combined. So everybody pays for an independent flat. Not an issue. But for that land, people have shared it. Otherwise, if I was to build one flat over there, I had to take up the entire land and build one flat. Right? So those kinds of benefit also is something they seek for. So those benefits can be movable, can be immovable, can be property, can be money, can be anything. Right? But that benefit is coming out of the arrangement that they have made via which they are collecting the funds. Right? Now beyond that, why now a corpus of fund? Again, there's another reason is that it is managed very efficiently. Not all of them has the day-to-day involvement as to how many bricks have been added, is the gate over there, is the carpenter over there, is the paint going well. All of you don't have to be there to see the construction of the building. So whatever contribution you have made, whatever arrangement you have come across, right, then that will be managed on behalf of the investor by somebody else. Or they'll form a team and that team will manage it. The rest have invested, the rest will get their return back. Right? So the investors, they do not have a day-to-day control over their management or operation of the scheme or arrangement. Getting the point? So these are also the conditions which are there. So you could consider this to be an extension of the definition also. In the definition it says bring together. But why to bring together? Bringing together for profit, bringing together for some common activities, gaining some benefits out of that, may be movable, immovable, in kind, in cash, coming together so that there's some experts who can manage it. Right? And so that I do not have to control my investment on day-to-day basis. So this is the perfect example of leverage. And leverage is one of the strongest word in the universe of economics, of business. So we know a lot of strongest word in this universe as per science. But as per commerce, if you're thinking about a business, leverage is the strongest word that you can think of. If you leverage, you do a lot of things. You do single-handedly, you flop. Or it becomes very difficult. When I say flop, means reaching that height is very difficult. Then if we look at 11AA2A, it says any scheme or arrangement which is made or offered by any person. What is that person offering? A scheme or arrangement. So that scheme, if it is satisfying the conditions as which is specified above, right, and is in accordance with this act, then we would consider it to be a collective investment scheme. Right? And they say that SEBI can make regulations for it. Not important. Next, negative list schemes. So what are the schemes which are already available in the market but we do not consider them to be a collective investment scheme? Right? So this is the list. First is any scheme offered by a cooperative society. So a scheme which is prepared by a cooperative society or offered to the public, right? But when we talk about cooperative society, we specify that the cooperative society should be the society which is registered under the Cooperative Society Act 1912, right? Or society which is in the process of being registered or which is deemed to be registered. So any scheme that the cooperative society brings forward will not be considered to be an collective investment scheme, because you know the motive and the final outcome of what the cooperative society wants, right, is entirely different. So let us not get into that and indulge that into this. So their scheme, their arrangement, why they are pooling fund, what are they wanting to do, what is that cooperative society is trying to build is different. But over here people are just pooling their fund, and in that fund what are they doing? Somebody is managing the fund, they're investing, they're doing whatever, and they are getting the benefit either in cash or kind or anything. Right? Next is deposits accepted by NBFC will not be considered to be collective investment scheme, because NBFCs are also considered to be somewhat like a bank. Right? It is because it is a financial institution, although it is a non-banking. Because that is only because we want to segregate them from the banks. But otherwise, if you look, NBFCs are also somewhat doing the same task with the bank. And if you go by the definition, there are a lot of people who are investing their money and that money goes to NBFC and NBFC works out on that. Right? But that is registered under the Act. So that is already guided by SEBI. So that is not any other scheme that SEBI needs a guidance as per section 11AA. Right? You remember the definition? It should not be registered with the board. There is pooling of fund and the corpus should be over 100 crores. There are only 3 points in the definition. Right? and those NBFCs only that are registered under the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. Now, you remember insurance. There are a lot of insurance agents you find in the market, insurance, co-insurance, and a lot of things are related to insurance. Now, insurance is also guided by an act, which is the Insurance Act 1938. So, any contract of insurance that you get in, that okay, we all pull in money for insurance, that is not for profit. That is not for the building. Okay, at the end, if the insurance matures, you get a lot of money. But that is something entirely different. It does not suit in the concept of people coming, pulling in money and then withdrawing profit, pulling money, profit. No. Right? That is not a business kind of a thing. That is not a scheme to generate or churn money by managing funds. Right? So insurance covered in the Insurance Act will not be a part of this. Next we have contract for insurance done. Then we have EPF, Employees Provident Fund. So if you have any scheme of any pension scheme or insurance scheme or EPF scheme and etc., whichever is there in the Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952, they are already governed by that act, right? We would not involve them into SEBI because again, provident fund and all, it is just a deduction from your salary that goes and that gets collected and then you get it back later on. It is not the collective investment scheme, right? Because in that investment scheme, you generally do not get back the money. I mean, it's not necessary, right? You may churn profit because if you're building a flat, you get a flat, right? From your EPF, you will not get a flat, right? Next, any deposit which is accepted under section 58A of the Companies Act is considered the same. Recent example, Sahara. They accepted a deposit from the public, could not repay it back. The court charged him, he is behind bars, everything is going on. So even those kind of schemes, right, will not be considered a collective investment scheme. Right? There are a lot of processes where money is being laundered, money laundering, right? So a lot of people bringing money together. So and you bring more people with more money, you get this much return. You bring more people with more money, get this much return. Those kind of schemes do not form part of a collective investment scheme because they did not agree to come together, collect their investment together and make something big out of it. There's just one person who has thrown up a scheme in the market and people are being trapped, right? That is money circulation and money laundering which is happening, right? And in India, we are referring them to the Price Trade and Money Laundering Act. Then apart from that, Nidhi companies, right? Nidhi companies or chit fund business, all these will not form part of collective investment scheme. So any deposit which is accepted by a Nidhi company, right, or any mutual benefit society which is registered under section 620A of 1956 Act will not be considered here. Any which is falling under the definition of chit fund as per Chit Fund Act 1982, it will not be accepted. Will not form part of the collective investment scheme, right? Mutual fund, as I told you already, mutual fund is not a collective investment scheme. That is a scheme that you have provided just to get the return, steady return. It is not for the purpose of making profit, right? Understand that intention is different. It will not give you a flat. It is just an investment and you get your shares dividend return on that. Then any other scheme or arrangement which the central government shall notify will also not be part of the collective investment scheme. So they always leave a room open for insertion. Right? Are you clear with this point? So you understand what is a collective investment scheme? We saw the definition and we saw what will form part of the collective investment scheme. So this is the negative list of the schemes. Clear with that? So we have covered two sections in 11AA. And now I think 11B, C, D will pick up in the next lecture, right? So until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you and bye-bye. I'll see you guys back in the next lecture.